Call our budget committee meeting to session 6:03. I think first order of business, we need to choose I guess, chair for a better word, someone to run the meeting. Anyone?
I'll nominate Riley.
Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Second order is a secretary. Anyone interested in secretary?
I'll nominate Sarah Fay. I'll second that.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Nicole. There you go. Sir, go first. You already have one. Okay, with that, we have a little message here just at the beginning, so everyone's clear on what we got going on tonight. All budget committee members are equal authority and responsibility. The budget committee does hear the budget message, hear and consider public comments, discuss and revise the budget as needed, approve the budget and approve tax and the levy rate. The budget committee does not set salaries, benefits, or contract terms, set staffing levels or organizational structure, decide if a program or service should be funded, make or alter district goals or policies. Any questions? Everyone's good? Okay, with that, kind of roll it over to you, Hillary.
I think we'll go over, we'll use this budget committee does kind of for our agenda here, and so feel free to go over the budget message.
Okay.
Well, so we don't have to read it, and obviously this is our best guess at what 25, 26 is gonna look like. Our budget is based on estimates that we get from the state in terms of what our dollar figure is going to be. That's based predominantly on our average daily membership, our attendance and enrollment. It's not necessarily a straight, dollar per kid kind of a formula. There's a lot of complexity to it. But essentially, the more kids you have, the more money you get. That money is decided on as we speak. The Oregon government is meeting and deciding on their budget for the next biennium, because Oregon does 2-year budgets. So we don't have necessarily a firm locked in number from the state, although this has been one of those years where there hasn't been a lot of hubbub about it. It's been 11.4 billion pretty much the entire time that they've been meeting. Nobody's really wavered off of that. Some years it's, there's a group fighting for this number and a group fighting for this number, and there's a lot of back and forth. This is one of those years, for whatever reason, it doesn't seem to be that. I think the economic forecast in Oregon isn't spectacular from what I've heard, but at the same time, I think they have built up rainy day funds and other sources of money so that schools are held relative to funds. That $11.4 billion budget equates out to somewhere in the neighborhood of $200,000 less in our budget for this year than we had in the prior biennium. And that's largely due to a decline in enrollment. So we've seen about a decline of about 20 this year. Really, roughly speaking, one kid is about $10,000, roughly speaking. Again, there's a lot of weighting and other things that go on in there. But it's about a $200,000 hit. So we get a little bit more money from the state, but we're going to get a little bit less because we have fewer kids. So bottom line, it feels like kind of a flat funded type of year where we're going to get what we had before, which would probably be okay, except that, as everybody knows, it seems like everything has gone up in cost. And so whether it's electricity or general services, I know one of the things that we've seen on the maintenance side of things, like calling people out to work on a heat pump, is not a $500 fix anymore. It's a $2,500 fix. So that sort of stuff has kind of got us too. We're currently negotiating with our certified staff, so there's a potential raise sitting there. We're in year 2 of our classified contract. They're getting a percentage raise based on what we negotiated a year ago. So costs are not staying flat, but funding will. Obviously, we want to do the best we can with what we have. There are a lot of grant programs out there that we're using. Most of them come through the state. The 3 big ones are the Student Investment Account, the SIA grant, which we use to do a lot of, well, there's a lot of stuff on that list, but both of the building counselors, for example, are in that. We have a high school success grant, which we're using to do a lot of facility work. It's geared towards graduation rates and attendance rates and CTE, career technical education at the high school. And so we're trying to do facility upgrades, especially around the shop. That we've started some new programs like culinary arts. And then just this year, we started using the early literacy grant, which is specifically focused on K-3 literacy and making sure that we're doing a good job in that place. And so all those little buckets kind of add up and we're able to keep programs going. We have been pretty frugal in terms of how we've done things. We haven't added a lot of extra things. We've been careful not to use a lot of grant money to pay for people necessarily, because you never know when the grant funding is going to go away, like we saw with the ESSER grants that we just got done with last year. And so we've been able to kind of manage our way through. We don't feel like we're shorthanded anywhere, but we're always cautious about adding new programs or adding new pieces when we don't know where the funding is. One of the things that we have done over the last several years is we've been able to set a little bit of money aside for things that we know are coming. And so we have created 4, I don't know what you call them, side account or just other accounts that are dedicated for specific things. One is for facilities. So we have a facilities account that we've been able to put a small percentage in every year. And that's pretty obvious. It's a 100-year-old building in here, and then down there, it feels like just like owning a house, something breaks every week. There's something that needs to be repaired somewhere. And so it's kind of a constant piece. So we've got money in that account. We have a PERS account for, I'm not going to try to explain PERS because I certainly don't understand how that funding formula works, but there is a lot of variability in PERS costs. This year, our PERS costs went up around 6%. And so our payroll, that affects our payroll costs. And so instead of paying 11% for PERS on payroll for every dollar you make, we're paying 16% for every dollar. And so there's extra costs there. That's one of our buckets. We also, 5 or 6 years ago, made a commitment to making sure that our curriculum was up to date and that we were keeping up with our textbook adoptions, that we weren't falling behind, which we had been doing. And so making sure that the state runs on a 7-year schedule. And so every 7 years, you get a new set of math books and you get a new set of English books, a new set of science books. And they set this year it's health. I think next year is
Social safety.
so it's set. And so we've tried really hard to keep up on that and not fall behind on those things. So that's another one of the accounts. And the 4th account is for technology, just the rising use and the rising cost of making sure that, you can't really operate anymore without the technology piece. Unfortunately, a lot of the textbooks are now coming in as, electronic versions, or at least partly electronic, which I'm not a huge fan of, but it's the way that the world is moving. And so you kind of have to. So we've been able to put money aside for those, and we were able to continue to do that this year to a certain degree. And I just put that chart on the bottom of the page, just give you a kind of a general overview of where we're at. So you got the 24-25 budget on the left, 25-26 on the right. So you can see where our changes have been. One of the ones that decreased was the 200 level piece. And I think Hillary could probably talk to more specifics about that, but in some places our costs have gone down. That is the account where we do transfers over to other programs. One of them is the food service program. This year we went to the free lunch program, so free meals for all of our kids. And that's been a benefit to us from a financial perspective. We're still in the red, but we're not anywhere near in the red as far as we were. So that transfer will be smaller than what it's been in the past, which is a good thing. And we're feeding all of our kids they're willing to eat. Debt service, that is for the PERS bond, the self bond, which is a energy efficiency program that we used about 8 years ago and are still paying for, and then the construction bond that we did, and so that shows up as a debt to manage. District initiatives, that's where those 4 buckets are. The technology, construction, facilities, PERS, textbooks. That represents, when we had just a little bit of unappropriated funds there at the bottom. And that's just money that we didn't gear towards anything and hope that it's sitting there when we get back to it next year. The number at the bottom is interesting. It goes from 12 to 16 million. That's a little bit deceptive. We just found out 2 weeks ago that we were approved for a seismic grant for the high school building, for this end of the high school building. It's a $2.5 million grant. That's the bulk of that change. The difference between the old and the subsidy, the bulk of it is that seismic grant, which we had to put in the budget, even though we're not kicking off yet. We had to put it in there if we want to spend any other. So it's sitting there and we're going to start working on that. Again, it's a framework, obviously, is our best guess at where we're at. Yeah, I think that, question. Hillary probably has.
They really summed it up well. If we could just go through maybe the resources, the green pages, and we can talk about the revenue sources that are coming in, and then we go through the expenditures. The first page is the bulk of our mean, and that would be our state school fund, our local revenues. That's our general fund.
General fund's a pretty small percentage. I mean, what, 10% or less of the overall.
On the whole, it's the bulk. On the whole, if you look at the bottom, the 8.
Yeah, the 8.
Right, each individual, I was just looking at the top line.
Oh, just the, yeah. I don't know if you guys want to take time to go through these, like look at them in detail, or just we can talk about what the accounts are and then you guys can ask questions.
The accounts and then ask, we can ask questions.
Okay. Fund 205 is our food service. 223 is an expired fund. We just have to keep it on for record.
What can we use that for? If it's like,
It's done, like we don't, the revenue has been spent, but we just have to keep it for, it has to be on the budget until it falls off of the budget. So, does that make sense?
That's one where there's no money sitting.
Yeah, there's no money sitting there, no money came in, we depleted that.
okay,
And you'll see the expenses are on the expense pages, so you can see where it was spent. The fund 224, another expired fund, it's just on there for record. 226 is IDEA, Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, and that's a special grant that we get.
And that is a federal grant. It's one of the federal grants.
And we did flat funding on federal. So IDEA, title, we still don't know what the allocations are on these
It's just a guess of what we'll get.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are we feeling good about flat funding or?
It's a little scary, I think, to be flat funded. And we just met with IDEA folks 2 weeks ago. And they were telling us, you need to put this in your budget, put it in your budget. And Hillary said, well, how much are we putting in our budget? And I said, well, we don't know. We don't know. Check with this again in a month, maybe we'll know. So I don't know that they're not in the same boat.
Yeah. Yeah, so we just went flat with those and hopefully, we'll see. We'll see. Like we said, this is the picture of what we have right now with the information that we have. We can always revise it down the road if things change. 227 is mini grants. So sometimes there's local grants in the area that teachers, will get a $500 grant or $1,000. So we throw it in here and then balance it. So that's this. 228 is outdoor school. That is run a grant through OSU. 229 is fed.
It's another one we haven't utilized for a while, obviously.
It's been sitting here for a long time. We can use it on special education. 230 is art for make space, and that's an expired grant. So we longer. 231 is the snack pack, and we've been using that for to buy turkeys or fill in like Thanksgiving foods or holiday boxes with food that they haven't, 232 is ESSER. That was ESSER 1, expired. 233, ESSER 2 is expired. 234, ESSER 3 is expired because it's expired. 251 is the student improvement account. That's the SIA account. 252 is the TAP grant, the technical assistance program.
For our asbestos abatement, which we have to do every year. So there's a constant schedule of asbestos. If nothing else, they have to go in and make sure it's still in the same place it was before. So that's a little grant program that we're able to utilize to help pay for that.
253 is the KPI grant, the Kindergartner Partnership and Innovation Grant, and that is through
I think it's the Urban Learning Hub.
LBCC.
That was another guess. They don't know what their funding is. But that's what we use for kindergarten jumpstart. Pre-K, pre-K programming.
And it's not necessarily dropped, it's a 2-year biennium. We didn't use very much that first year, and so that's why last year was 20,000. We'll probably get really close to the same funding. I just split it by year. Use it distributed evenly. 254 is the OEA Health and Wellness Grant. We no longer have that. 255 is Educator Retention Grant. That was a special grant during COVID. It's expired as well. 256 is MDA funds. That's the Menstrual Dignity Act. 257 is a TAP grant that's expired. 258 is the early literacy. I based this on the governor's recommended budget. And we're hoping that comes through. So we'll have to wait and see if it doesn't. The current service level.
1,000, we don't know where it's going to land.
Yeah.
We went with the big one, hoping.
Yeah, and if not, we will cut. So yeah, that's our youth transition program. And
It's a federal program as well. We used that this year. They just changed their model. This is the first year we've gotten funding in this manner from that, but it's meant for 16 and older kids, special education kids mostly, and helping them get transitioned out into the workforce. It's a big number. We aren't gonna use all of that. We used it to help people, find employment. And so we could actually, it's kind of a nice idea, but we could go down to the local restaurant and say, hey, would you like to hire someone? We'll pay them, but they'll work for you and they get a job experience. It's supposed to be a short job. It's new to us, so we're still working on how to use it then.
262 is the summer learning grant, and we just learned about this one very recently and applied for it, and we're pretty high on the list. I mean, we should quit it.
And it would go to summer programming for this coming summer.
What, is there more specific what we could use it for? Is it like for credit,
There is,
recovery,
it's gonna
or?
be focused on K-5. It's
Okay,
gonna be literacy focused. We're still working on details of what that might look like, because they gave us a really tight window. They basically came out about 2 or 3 weeks ago and said, oh, you have it. And then we just realized yesterday that the application was due yesterday. So we got in, Kim. got in, and I was just. Or,
so we would use it to support our K-5 teachers to like,
the teachers would be an integral
Yes,
part of this
develop.
program. I
okay,
think there's still lots of conversations to be had in terms of how exactly that looks. Kind of rough, really, really rough. Probably August mostly, and 4 or 5 days, 4 or 5 hours a day, 5 days a week, maybe some field trips.
okay.
So we're still working on it. But definitely literacy focused, definitely K-5 focused, and definitely with our teachers and our staff.
270 is the athletic fund, or yeah, student activities fund. It's club funds. I'm sorry, that's not athletics. This is club funds. So like our student body accounts, all of those kinds of accounts are in there. 274 is the school library account, and that one's expired as well. 275 is athletics. 276 is the PEAK grant, another grant where we haven't heard that there's no allocations have been released. We have not heard if they will be in this biennium
That helps us pay for a PE teacher.
at the grade school.
Helps what? Pay for what?
A PE teacher at the grade school.
278 is the high school success grant. 280 is the title grant. 282 is Smile Club. It's a science and math grant through OSU. 285 is the Pearl Perkins grant.
That's a CTE grant.
286 is a first robotics grant, and I don't think we have any robotics programs right now, but it's money that they have in their account that will just keep rolling until it's back. 289 is suicide prevention grant. 290 is my future, my choice. Yeah, 291 is the ELL consortium grant. 293 is the Oregon Response to Instruction and Intervention grant. 6 is extended assessment. 298 is homeless discretionary. 301 is our PERS UAL, so that's our debt service. 302 is our self-debt service fund. 303 is our Go Bond debt service. 401 is our construction excess tax. 402 is the seismic upgrade grant, so that was the grant that we just found out about. 404 is the Go Bond. 901 is the district initiative, the textbook grant, or textbook adoption. 902 is technology. 903 is PERS. And that's all of our revenue sources. As far as expenditures for budgeting purposes, For textbooks, we did a 3.5% increase. Supplies 3 to 6%, technology 5 to 10%. Utilities 5 to 10%, food 4 to 6%, insurance 18.5%. And that is we're pretty firm that that's coming in at that. And then transportation as a 2.5%.
Those are our increases.
What were the first two?
I can give you a copy of this too.
Textbook and
Textbook,
curriculum,
Oh,
3 to
textbook,
5,
yeah.
and classroom supplies, 3 to 6.
Anyone have any questions on the green pages? I have a couple, but. Okay, I'm gonna start with, page 2, the 205 food service. It's been talked about that we switched to, everyone eats free.
Yes.
Forgive me if I'm not seeing everything right. What do you see in a difference in actual cost?
So, the revenue is coming in at, 4,505, school nutrition, it's $174,000 versus last year, 110.
I think the other important number is the transfer number as well.
Yep.
And, the transfer, if you look back at 22, 23, 23, 24, those were post-COVID years and we still were getting ESSER relief money. There was special, food service, if supply chain disturbance money that was coming in. And so these aren't really great reflections. Like when you see those numbers, you're not really getting the whole picture of why that transfer was so low. There was other money that was coming in.
Okay. And my next one is page 26, 275, the athletic stuff. We're currently not charging any of the high school kids and actually any of the school funded sports, right?
Which one?
Yep. What, and like I say, I'm maybe not seeing it exactly right. What's that costing us for us to? That's what I'm saying. And this can wait if we want to wait until we get through the white pages and maybe you can just point some of these that I have questions about.
So, part of the SIA money is offsetting the athletics. We have a $25,000 transfer in this budget for athletics. So that's offsetting the cost for our students to play but the general fund transfer for athletics is 244,000.
And so we put that in the SIA to get rid of any, at the time, when it came out, it was all about removing barriers. Whatever kind of barrier that might be there. So we said, well, there's economic barriers. We want all of our kids to be able to participate without worry. And so we offset using SIA dollars. We basically added up the number of kids that we would have had play and times $75, which was the fee at the time. And came up with a number. I think it started out at about $18,000, and it's just we've added to it a little bit every year. And so that money helps to offset. Fees in and of themselves probably wouldn't bring us any more than that, unless we wanted to go with a much larger fee. So if you figured even 50 kids per season participating, it's 150 kids, it's $100 each. That's only $15,000. So
yeah,
we feel like it's fair reflection. And we wouldn't do both. We wouldn't charge a fee and draw SIA.
right.
But just on the sports side of it, it's just more expensive. The bus trips are expensive. The officials have gotten very expensive. They went through the post-COVID, we can't find officials, and so they raised the rates, really healthy amount. And so the official bills that I see are just
It's ridiculous.
they're huge. And so it's more expensive. It's not a lot of like we're not buying uniforms and like fancy stuff. That's just buses, coaches and officials. Dragon Pride still is very supportive of us and they do most of our uniform purchases.
That's all I know. I just wanted to ask a couple of those. What else? Okay, guess we'll move to White Beach.
Would there be any, I mean, there's a lot of funds in here that have really small dollars in it. Do we intentionally leave that in case there is a situation where it comes up, or just because it's so narrow how we can use it that it just sits there?
I think it's a combination of those things. They're pretty narrow. A lot of them, like My Future, My Choice, that was around 15 years ago. I don't know why we didn't use it. I can barely remember what it was for. And so you run into it and you get to this time of year and go, well, it'd be nice to use that for something, but I can't even remember what it was supposed to be used for.
Yeah,
We
I
probably
think,
could.
there are,
I think
yeah, then there's times where we run it, like this week, we were like, oh, we can use that discretionary money for the, situation that came up, and so we're probably going to use that, right, here shortly. And so I think and then some of them are really, like you said, they have really, specific. There's one of them.
Yeah.
The extended assessment we talked about, we will use that this year. Like the robotics one, we probably could put that into a club fund. But
Is there not?
it comes and goes. Sometimes there's
Isn't there robotics? There's not one at the grade school right now?
There's like a loose after-school club right now. I mean, it's an after-school club, but we don't have it as an elective this year, which we've done in the past.
Okay.
Or competitions. Kind of dependent on like the teacher that is in that position.
You guys are more than welcome to look through the expenditures. Nothing big has changed. There's the social studies, adoption in here.
It's like most things, 85% of our dollars are spent on salary. So, you don't have a whole lot of wiggle room on the salary.
The insurance increase, what is that? What's going on?
Get our liability insurance through PACE, which is the only,
We only have that option.
it is the only option, the only game in town. There's not a lot of people that want to do school liability insurance for some reason. I can't figure out why. And so it's supposed to be, I don't know what they call themselves, it's collective. Is that what they call them?
Yeah,
So it's supposed to be like all the districts in the state kind of like do it together, sort of a deal. And then PACE is the organization kind of that our insurance agent is Jeff Duran in Junction City. So we get our insurance from everything. But yeah, they just, I went to a deal a month ago or so, and they said that the rates are going up. A lot of it is because of wildfires. They're still trying to pay for those in different parts of the state. Any sort of personal liability that you might run into if somebody gets hurt walking around on campus, or if I don't know, all kinds of scenarios come up. Those things have not gotten any cheaper to resolve. So assuming they're doing the best they can to keep the cost down. But yeah, when I started 8 years ago, the annual insurance cost was $50,000, and now it's on. So maybe that's doubled.
And did we see any sort of savings, switching the gas? Because we switched to that
Oh, yeah, we have a little savings, but I mean, we're talking a couple $100, you know, yeah, but yeah, and yeah.
And you
Yeah,
think the
finance.
5 to 10 increase on utilities is gonna cover us?
Yeah, we just had a big increase in January, and so we're talking, this budget starts in July, so
Yeah.
yeah, no, yeah, from what we had budgeted before.
Page 53, 1220. It's the restricted programs for students with disabilities. The legal services has come down quite a bit. What are we anticipating there? Just less students on that?
Yeah, I think we kind of bulked it up before, you can see the two previous years. there was
Yeah, there's nothing.
expenses, and so we just,
Okay. More in
That's one of
line
those
with
things.
actual?
You go for 2 or 3 years and not ever spend a penny on legal services, and then the next year you spend $25,000.
and that 1220 is not, our legal services for the whole district, that was just for special education.
That's, I know, that's what I figured.
Yeah,
Okay.
so, yeah. There's some rules about the special education budget. Year after year, it has to, increase. And we have other lines in the budget that are not in the general fund, so if you look here, you're gonna say, oh, it's decreased, but we have special education funds that are in SIA and, IDEA is special education. So anyways, there, like, you might see that go down, but it did not go down, it's gone up. I tried to keep it really close, because you don't want it to jump too high, because then the following year has to be even higher.
It has to
So,
staircase.
That's the new bar,
Yeah, we can never go the other way.
so.
or they retroactively, right? Take,
They take it back.
yep. I know we had a little bit of a, just because of years experienced teachers, so the expense for the teacher was lower.
There are some exceptions, like if you had 3 30-year teachers and all of a sudden they all left at once and you hired 3 brand new, there are some exceptions that they'll give you for situations like that, or if your enrollment dropped a whole lot.
2310, did that get used much this last summer? Page 57. I'm seeing we're keeping that number the same.
No, it did not.
And so we just kind of did some
Just,
quick math on numbers. Okay.
yeah,
One number on that same page, unemployment compensation, that's because of the new
Yeah,
state.
that's what you're talking, right?
yeah. Did we put in, anything extra for those repairs we know we need to make, or those kind of were already earmarked a little bit, like for the kitchen and stuff here? Did we make?
Yes, we did, yes, we have them there. I did not put anything for the reader board, I kind of about the reader board last.
Okay.
We'll pay for the report. It was it's 20 years old. I remember when I did it, and I think that I think Monroe Area Foundation might have given us some money, and we had a little bit of money, so I think it was like a whole, yeah, that's what I would vaguely remember too. I can't remember the details, but I know it's shared. Does it need repair? The south side is not working very well.
You just gotta drive by it.
You don't drive north anymore.
Sometimes you'll get the top, but sometimes. you'll
If
get
you
the
make a loop around town, it's fine.
bottom.
It's a 27,000 north. You can't find parts.
There's no parts again.
I think we still have the letters and the sign.
Yeah, that's what I was like, I was thinking that last night, we were talking about. Back in the little letters.
Got nothing else to do, right?
Used to have to go back in the day. They weren't working.
That's also, yeah, other schools.
Surprising.
Yeah, me too, rewriting.
It's like 1,000. I guess it's what I have to go down. Page 7, outdoor school.
It's not that bad.
I think that many didn't go.
The summer food service, that's what happens during art in the park, right?
Yes.
And did we add somebody to help in the kitchen? Is that why it's gone up a little, or is that including the actual?
I think our program's going to be running a little bit longer this year because,
And summer living grant requires it as well.
Okay,
So, yeah, we're trying to run longer.
stretch it.
Yeah.
Not expecting an increase in outdoor school next year.
it's based on, enrollment. And we actually had less kids go this year. I haven't seen the final invoice for this year, but I'm really curious. So we're talking about it. Do you know how many kids for that?
There's only 3 stayed back.
Like six, it was like
Was it?
18 to 20, I wanna say went out of that sixth grade cohort.
Okay. Yeah, there's a base price for the camp and then we pay transportation and then an advisor.
Fifth grade class about the same size as this year's group.
Yeah, I know.
Makes sense. And
Is the advisor or the teacher off regular teacher pay during that week?
No, it's a stipend.
So it's a stipend on.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I was trying to look at that. I didn't see.
Been there.
I think it's below, like there's a couple that are below
Yeah,
because
without
they're
a dollar.
based off of the grant reimbursement.
Yep. You know, in the past, Bill, you said that, Tim's expense for repairing Chromebooks has been quite a bit higher. Roughly where that, yeah, I think we're.
Where is it in the budget?
In technology.
Yeah, that'd be my guess, maybe, yeah, but that's 0.
Page 63.
6.
Towards the top of the page, under the 300, is 480 computer hardware. There's 32,000 in there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, the consumable supplies and materials really where the fixed part stuff comes from. And then we put some replacement equipment, in there as well.
Those are the ones, don't we lease?
That $32,000 are our lease payment.
And so we have to fix them when they break, but then when the lease is up, we just give them back whether they work or not, and they get new ones.
That, or we just buy it, or they'll sell them to us for like $1 a unit or something.
Okay,
It's the way I understood when we said all this stuff.
okay.
We've got 4-year-old Chromebooks, and what we're learning is that the technology,
Yeah.
the software side goes faster than the hardware side, so you get to a place where you can't upgrade them. They won't.
Are we using those at this campus? Or pretty much just down there?
Chromebooks?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're using Chromebooks here. Yeah, every cart here every classroom here has a cart and everything.
Okay.
And the thing with the Chromebooks is that, the operating system, they extended it, they'll only go for 10 years, so the Chromebooks we have in this building, we really wouldn't have to start talking about replacing until 2032.
Okay.
And we're building up that technology fund, so we have nothing this time.
Is one campus harder on their Chromebooks than the other? That one down there? There'll be a lot less pages in here, Hillary, when those fall off.
I know.
That's a lot of zeros.
Some of them are getting awful close.
Page 97 for the athletics. Is that repair and maintenance number is quite a bit higher? Did we put something in there for the track? Okay. Page, 103, it looks like we've added some money to the 410 and the consumables and like we moved it from Smile to extracurricular. Or maybe the Smile just is no longer.
So what happened is, we previously had is this supplies that one
Yeah.
dollars was. So we previously had one Smile Club and, we had one teacher running it and it was just middle school. And this year we had an opportunity to do an elementary program as well. And so we brought in another advisor and so they have two separate programs. So they have, that's actually split into two different categories because of that. So they have, their supplies are just middle school.
Okay. And then on 105, kind of the same thing between consumables and non-consumables. Or,
So that's the Carl Perkins grant. Maybe that should be changed.
Yeah, I think that one's generally supposed to be non-consumable things. You're not supposed to buy like welding rods, but you can buy a new welder.
Yeah, so that's a correction that won't need to be made. We just make a note of that.
oh,
That would be changed, yeah. You found something, Sarah.
no, I meant, I gotta write it down.
You just want to flip 410 for 460.
Yeah, yeah.
Page 113, the first stuff, just could you roughly explain how the debt service, the fact that we had to borrow, just so everyone knows?
Okay. So, this will expire in 27, so we're getting towards the end of this debt service, for the PERS. Essentially what they did is they went in with, I don't know, 20 or 30 other school districts, took a loan out and were able to buy down their rates. So we paid lesser rate for PERS. And this was a 20-year bond.
It was 2007, 2008.
Yeah, and I honestly think we've kind of been looking at this, because it's getting ready to expire and we're trying to decide whether for us to buy again. The market's not wonderful and they're not advising, I don't know. We're not really sure if that's the best choice, but when this has saved us $1 million. Yeah, over the course of 20 years, so it was a good thing to have.
Yep.
I'm not sure what we'll do in it, because our rates will go up.
Yep. 117, the seismic, we need to revisit. We'll do, right?
Yep.
Wanted it in the budget, so we have the appropriations to spend the money. I don't foresee us spending a lot of it. It probably will be just architect and permits, engineering stuff, and then the project would be that.
Right. In the past, when we did seismic work, we also had community bond, right, dollars to match with it, so it could be a larger scope. But like 2.5 million, we'll spend the 500,000 just on fees probably, I would imagine, roughly. So anyway, we'll see how far it goes, but luckily this building down here was built to a different standards in the 80s, right?
This one, I think, 60s.
This is 60s down here. Oh wow. Oh, yeah. The new wing isn't so new. Yeah.
So we're really just anticipating like less than one extra FTE? That, am I reading that correctly?
Anyone have any questions or comments?
Appreciate the good management, so we're not in the same boat as, Junction City and Forte.
Thank you.
Yeah, like if you're gonna do a motion, we need to add them on the section to fund. Again, everything is very big.
One 410 needs to be moved to 460.
I move to approve the Monroe School District proposed budget for 25-26 fiscal year ending June 30th of 26 in the amount of a lot of numbers, $15,866,639 and unappropriated ending fund balance total of $199,126 for a total budget of $16,065 or $65,765. With a modification to fund 285, reverse 410 with 460.
I'll second.
Those in favor? Aye.
Okay.
Like everyone approves. Good. That's what you do. Next order of business is we get to, approve taxes. If anyone is interested in being the person to do that.
I did last.
Do it again.
I'll move to approve the taxes provided for the proposed budget of a permanent tax rate of 4.6341 for $1,000 of assessed value for the general fund operation.
I'll second that. Those in favor?
Aye.
It's the same rate every single year.
And then we need to, approve a levy for the debt service. Do that.
I'll move to approve the tax levy amount, $457,160 the general obligation bond debt service.
Second that.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I believe with all that done, adjourned 7:05.
Good work. Yeah.